So how did Tobago come by its second seat of representation in the government? Well, it ain't because we're cute, all right? So let me take it back to 1950, where we had the Legislative Council. It wasn't government because we were not independent and we were not yet a republic. So we were still very much under British rule. So if you were talking the seat of political power in Trinidad and Tobago, you were talking about the Legislative Council. Remember, Tobago has joined the Union, and so it's one country, and this is where politics is happening. So in 1950, the member for San Fernando, the borough of San Fernando, Mr. Roy A. Joseph, he submitted a minority report on this day 72 years ago, basically advocating for San Fernando to get an extra or more seats on the Legislative Council to get better representation. He was also a friend of APT James, who was the representative for Tobago. He believed that Tobago should also get more representation and supported APT James in his campaign to get that. Now, what you need to know is that at the 1946 elections, which was the elections before, which is where we first see universal adult suffrage coming to Trinidad and Tobago, at that election, there were 9 seats up for grabs, right? So they were submitting these minority reports to basically get the well, it wouldn't be the EBC at the time, but get the body in charge of boundaries to open it up to more, right, to get more seats and more representation, because it was woefully inadequate. I mean, come on, the country, Trinidad alone, was so huge and so large. 8 seats and all wasn't even enough, right, as we could see today, right? But yeah, so they decided that they would write these minority reports. Mr. James submitted he won since 1949. Since November 1949, APT had in Union and was like, Tobago needs more. And of course, he was coming from the angle of, we have joined this union and it needs to be of political benefit to both parties. And one of the things that Tobago requires is more representation. And if we don't get that, if you limit us to 1 seat, then it means that this partnership is not benefiting us, right? And that's from his perspective. But what do you think happens at the 1950 elections? Do you think we get 2? No, we don't. San Fernando gets its 2, right? But Tobago would not get its 2 for another 11 years in 1961 in that election. And of course, APT James had a lot to say about why he thought we were getting that 2. Okay, he was on some he believed that the PNM was only giving us 2 seats because they were not making as much traction as they thought they were in Trinidad, and to offset losses they would need 2 seats in Tobago. If you want more Tobago friendly content just like this, you know what